CBS Sports HQ is presented by Belfort Property Restoration, here with former Louisiana running back Emory Hunt. Let's welcome in former Notre Dame offensive tackle, the standout and Super Bowl champion Ryan Harris, who joins us from South Bend. And Ryan, give us your perspective here, because you were at the game, you called the game, and how cool was it to be there for the first playoff game in South Bend?
Everybody felt it. They had towels like this that they gave to everybody. So it looked a little bit like Pittsburgh. They had special hats and T-shirts for the day. But more than anything, it was picturesque for South Bend in December. Started with snowfall in the morning. Some flurries came in during the game. It was a one-of-a-kind atmosphere. Indiana had about 20,000 fans in the stands. So it was a mixed group of fans, but it was a wonderful game and a wonderful start to the college football playoff season.
Notre Dame gives up 2 late fourth quarter touchdowns, and Marcus Freeman said, I'm glad it happened because it humbled us, and we'll need to be that way going into the game against Georgia. What stood out to you? What's your biggest takeaway from this win against Indiana?
Riley Leonard's the right quarterback at the right moment for Notre Dame. He made gutsy throws throughout the night and got hit 3 times while still completing the football, stayed in the pocket, was able to use his legs to be successful. Notre Dame has the quarterback for the moment, and Notre Dame's defense continues to dominate. It's a phenomenal defense led by Xavier Watts, a.k.a. Dr. Watts. But as you mentioned, Coach Freeman talking about, there were some lulls in attention, especially towards the end of the game. And when you're going against a championship program like Georgia, they're going to win those moments. They're going to be prepared for those situations. So you can't have any lulls in your production offensively if you want to beat a good Georgia team in New Orleans come January 1st.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that in a moment. But, Emory, when you look at Riley Leonard, and Ryan, I know you know this as well, the fact that after that loss to Northern Illinois, he's embarrassed. He asked the police officer to take him home because he doesn't want to show his face anywhere. He wants to go and get right in terms of what he's got to do to prepare. Rest of the way, he goes into Marcus Freeman's office. He said, that's on me. Marcus Freeman says, you know, you're going to be thankful for this. He said, well, thankful? What are you talking about? I'm going to be thankful for it. He takes the hard L. He absorbs it, puts the team on his back. 15 rushing touchdowns. I mean, we had question after question. Can this kid be the quarterback for Notre Dame? You heard Ryan. He's the guy. What have you seen from this young man now leading them into the quarterfinals?
Well, he tied up loose ends. That's number one. And you don't see those small mistakes that we saw earlier in the season or in that Northern Illinois game. And on top of that, he became a more efficient passer. He became a more decisive runner. He became a better leader, and we saw those guys galvanize around him, around his football team. That's why we saw a different Notre Dame team from that NIU loss to what we saw tonight against Indiana.
Well, Notre Dame has its guy. Georgia will not have its guy. Georgia will be without starting quarterback Carson Beck for the remainder of the season. The Dogs will play in the Sugar Bowl without Carson Beck. It'll be Gunnar Stockton rest of way. Beck injured his UCL in his right elbow during the SEC championship game earlier this month. So Stockton will take over as the starter. He played the second half of the SEC title game and will make his first collegiate start in the CFP quarterfinals. And Ryan, when you look at a guy like Gunnar Stockton, right? Gunnar takes that huge hit, goes out of the game for a play, and then comes back. I mean, this is a tough kid. And I'm not really sure the fact that even if you have Gunnar Stockton, you've got a run game. You've got Trevor Etienne and Nate Frazier. It almost seems like it doesn't really matter who the quarterback is for Georgia. He's got enough weapons around him.
Well, it does matter that they're playing Notre Dame's defense. And what you saw tonight against Indiana is something they've done all year long, physically dominate their opponent. And I don't care about the SEC and the big bad SEC, but this Notre Dame defense will hit you out of a win. And that's something where the physicality between the Georgia and Notre Dame defenses is going to be fantastic to watch. But for young Gunnar, he's going to have the game of his life against the defense that had 18 picks in 12 games of the regular season and continued that dominance with an interception in the first quarter tonight on the 1-yard line. So a tremendous, tremendous matchup between 2 storied programs that's really going to bring the best out of each side.
Do you think this moment will be too big for Gunnar Stockton when he looks across and he goes, look, I get it. This is not the SEC championship, still big stakes against Texas. But when you look across and you see Notre Dame over there and you know they have 29 takeaways and that defense can get after you, is that where, maybe deer in the headlights look?
I'm going to just say the quiet part out loud.
Say
I don't care if they had Carson Beck. Notre Dame is going to beat Georgia.
Okay,
Notre Dame is great on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They can run the football. They can shut down your passing game. And we saw Beck in that passing game struggle because Georgia's receivers are not the usual suspects at Georgia that we used to see. So this matchup is a bad one for Georgia. I don't care if Gunnar Stockton's out there, Carson Beck, Stetson Bennett with another year of eligibility.
Aaron Murray. Okay. Matt Stafford. What about Matt Stafford?
Buck Blue, anybody. Line them up. They don't have the receivers. They just don't match up well versus Notre Dame. And I like that Notre Dame comes in playing the way they are playing now because they're coming in because Ryan touched on it perfectly. Everyone now is talking about, well, you should have put another SEC team in over Indiana. Notre Dame is sick of hearing all about that. They're going to go down there on a mission and show them why they are who they are.
All right, and so the big concern also, Ryan, is the fact about the health of Riley Mills, the star defensive lineman, injured in the third quarter, big old number 99. What level of concern do you have? Because we don't have a clear diagnosis of the injury. It's sort of a wait to see. What's the concern level right now around Riley Mills?
It's about a 7 on a scale of 10. And the only thing that keeps it from being catastrophic is he kind of got hit with his leg whipping around as he was getting a team sack with another teammate. So there wasn't a ton of pressure and impact, and his foot wasn't in the ground. So that all leads to good, positive diagnosis afterwards. And he was holding his helmet while walking around on his own after he was injured. So I think he could have come back in if they needed him. But what a thing for Notre Dame in its first ever home playoff game to not have to use Riley Mills or their star running back Jeremiah Love down the stretch in the fourth quarter because the game was in hand. And the other thing is Notre Dame has some of the best depth in all of college football as a direct result of Marcus Freeman's recruiting. So Gabriel Rubio and some other players are going to have a ton of opportunity. Donovan Heinisch, brother of current NFL player Kurt Heinisch, is a defensive tackle as well. And oh, by the way, they got this guy Bryce Young. His dad, Bryant Young. Yeah, you remember him, the Hall of Famer, the Super Bowl champ? They've got that young man too. So an incredibly deep defense for Notre Dame that will make up if Riley Mills cannot play. But I expect that he'll be ready to play in some capacity 12 days from now on the 1st of January.
This game is going to be physical. I mean, this is strength versus strength. This is, look, this is going to be an awesome game, an awesome matchup, even with Gunnar Stockton, Riley Leonard running the football. You got 2 really good run games. You got 2 really good defensive fronts. You've got guys that are going to get you pressure. And you know what tells us why this game's going to be so close? The line, Emory. It's 1.5. It's 1.5. Are you kidding me? What's your prediction?
Were you not sitting here when I just said Notre Dame?
I know, but I'm just saying this is how close it is.
Yeah, and this is what it's going to come down to, and this is the question, America: which quarterback right now do you trust in this ball game? And the right answer for you, I'm gonna give it to you, is Riley Leonard, because we've seen him play in big games. Not only this year, we saw it at Duke. We still don't know enough about Gunnar Stockton outside of what we saw in the SEC title game. Yes, people will bring up what he did in high school, and he's on Georgia, but we are talking about actual Power 4 college football American games. We saw Riley Leonard at Duke. We saw him at Notre Dame. We saw him tonight. We saw him in the postseason. So it keeps coming up Irish for me with this point spread. So I would probably jump on it right now before he gets up to 3.5.
Ryan, I know you're going to be back in your boys here. Perhaps the wrong team is favored, right?
No way. The right team is favored. Notre Dame, consider this too. Notre Dame is coming with tremendous momentum into New Orleans, right? It's one thing to win a SEC championship game, but that Georgia team, they have questions at quarterback. I love the point Emory made about the receivers. Nowhere near the dynamic receivers they typically have. So there's not a lot of threats outside of the run game for Georgia. Now, their defensive line are monsters, don't get me wrong, but their secondary is weak as well. And to Emory's point, you pick the quarterback who you've seen recently, who has the most recent win. That's Riley Leonard. And a fun thing for me, I got to talk with him after the last home game, and he said, you know, Ryan, one of the things was it was so tough going from Duke to Notre Dame. He said it was harder than going from high school to college. Well, he figured it out, and he showed the nation tonight.
I'll tell you what, Ryan. Emory's a believer in Notre Dame. He's picking them to win the national championship. So you can tell him right there. You can tell him to his face right now that you're proud of him. Because, look, coming into this playoff, I said nobody wants to face Notre Dame. They're nasty defensively. Riley Leonard is on a mission. Since that loss to Northern Illinois, it's as if he is a different player. Marcus Freeman is out there orchestrating. I don't know what he's got some wizardry going on. But this team is not a team I want to face. And look, I give you credit to pick Notre Dame. I really do, because I think a lot of people say they haven't played anybody, but they shut down, Ryan, they shut down a dominant Indiana team offensively.
Were they a dominant team? That's the question.
Right.
That's how much they dominated, right, Hakeem? I mean, there is all this talk about the Indiana offense. And let me be clear. Omar Cooper Jr. will be playing on Sundays. Get him on your fantasy team next year. This young man is a fantastic receiver. Had one catch tonight. One catch for a touchdown late in the game. So this Notre Dame team is built to succeed. And the biggest thing, and Emory will tell you this too, in big games, the strangest thing is you just need to not be afraid. This Notre Dame team is not afraid of anybody, any quarterback, any defense, any offense. This team is ready to win and win now.
You said preach right there.
Thank you, Ryan, because at the end of the day, one of my favorite sayings is, as long as you're not scared, I can win with you. I don't care with the height, weight, traits, and give me the dude that's not scared. And Riley Leonard, and what I love about Riley Leonard, and just to add to his story, go back and think about what we heard all last season about Duke and how well they were playing leading up to that Florida State game and how bad Riley Leonard played in that ballgame, albeit he was kind of banged up. But, man, he had to hear that. Then he had to hear it from folks after NIU. And so this dude, to Hakeem's point, he's on a mission. He is focused. And this team, they have two stud backs, in my opinion. And watching those guys run the football, listen, I'm always up for the backs. And I talked about the Killer Bees in the beginning of the pregame show.
Yep.
I called them the Joyous Jays. Like, these dudes now,
Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price.
They are outstanding.
Yep.
So
they're going to be going against two other good backs at Georgia, too. Let's give them some love. Trevor Etienne and Nate Frazier are very good running backs as well.
Riley Leonard is what
I'm
adds
with you.
The added benefit because of his running ability. So, yes, Notre Dame, to me, is a good one. I know Georgia fans are going to be upset, but they have
Let
to
them be upset. This is why we have the conversation. This is why we love sports.
It's a realistic
We go back and forth. This is going to be a heck of a game. I can't wait. We got to wait 12 days for this, Ryan. Ryan, appreciate you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you. We look forward to see you on New Year's Day. Emory Hunt here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Belfour. And we've got more football on Saturday. 3 more first-round playoff games, starting with Penn State hosting SMU at noon Eastern. 12-5 matchup takes us to Texas, where the Longhorns are double-digit favorites over Clemson. Nightcap in Columbus, where temperatures are expected to be in the 20s. Ohio State and Tennessee playing against each other for the second time ever. Only other time was the 1996 Citrus Bowl, featuring Heisman Trophy winner Eddie George and Peyton Manning.